deep now. We're going way, way back. 1768, Trond Larson was born in Metron Ideskog, Norway, okay? A little while after he was born, he moved to Jerpset, about 10 miles south of here. About 2 miles east of here is Sweden, okay? When Trond was 39 years old, he had a son, and of course, what do you call a Trond's son? You call him Trondson. So that became Lars Trondson, okay? Now, a year after Lars was born, the Napoleonic Wars decided what is kind of the modern day Swedish-Norwegian border. It was Sweden supported by England, and it was against Norway supported by Denmark and France. From 100,000 feet, that's actually the French-Napoleon War, right? France versus England. But everybody was conquering. Nobody knew who was conquering who, other than an offensive happened in Jerpset with Trond Larson involved, one way or another, 10 miles south of here, and ultimately the Norwegians won. So this is Metron Ideskog, Norway, where Trond Larson #1 was born. So Trond Larson, 1768 to 1821, born here in Metron Ideskog, we think is buried here. Now, he moved to Jerpset, but he would have traditionally come back to his birthplace to be buried. And we found a grave that is actually an 1835 grave, although not dedicated to him specifically. So his generation is among many of these stones that are just unmarked or too worn to actually make it out here at the church in Metron Ideskog. Okay, so take one. Trond Larson, that's where it's all going to start, okay? Go back to me to February 21, 1768, okay? Trond was born in Metron Ideskog, which is about 5 kilometers or so from Jerpset, Norway. So anyway, Trond was about 40 when the Swedes invade Norway in 1808, okay? It was part of the Napoleonic War. Sweden was backed by England. Norway was backed by Denmark and France, and quite literally from 100,000 foot level, it was the Napoleonic War between France and England. So anyway, the Swedes are blamed for invading when in fact the Norwegians were ready to go as it was, but Sweden took the first offensive, so they were blamed for invading. So anyway, Trond had a son, and of course a son of Trond is a Trondson, but his first name was Lars Trondson. So Lars Trondson was born a year before these Napoleonic Wars. Well, the Norwegians came out pretty well in those Napoleonic Wars. It literally happened right here at this farm. We're in Jerpset in Norway, and this is supposedly the land where the Swedes kidnapped a couple of the Norwegians, and that really said it all. And Trond Larson had his son Lars Trondson. Lars Trondson was the first to emigrate to the United States. He came over in 1871, went through Ellis Island, and for whatever reason ended up in Orrock, Minnesota. And Orrock is about 15 miles from where I grew up in Elk River. So anyway, Lars Trondson was the first to be in Minnesota. But when his family emigrated, he had his 7th son with him in the immigration process of the whole family, right? His seventh son was, of course, the son of Lars, so he was called, surname, Larson. And what did his first name become? Tron. So he's like the second Tron, you know, twice removed or whatever from the original Tron, who had been his grandfather. So Tron Larson, right, he emigrates to the US with his family, Lars Tronson, his dad. He's 20 years old, and when he arrives in America, he changes his name to Thomas. So Tom Larson, who is my great-grandfather, grew up in Orrock, Minnesota. He died in Princeton, and he was buried in the Orrock Cemetery, which is where my grandmother and grandfather are buried, as well as my father, and my father's brother, Raleigh. And unfortunately, Raleigh's oldest son, Tom Larson. So the occupant of where it all went down in 1808 steered us down the road to this place. This is the current owner of all of the land around here, and guess what his name is? Remember, we're in Jerpset and the Jerpset farm. His name is Tron Jerpset. Unfortunately, nobody's home. The Jerpset farm, we found this, a memorial to the 1808 battle. Come over, do a little interpretation for us.
So this says that Tron Jerpset and his posse, they were victorious in a battle for their country on the night to the 25th of May 1808. Wow. And they beat the Swedes.
They beat the Swedes. Crazy.
Old. That's old.
Right here.
That's old.
This just says the Swedish Rock.
Oh.
The battle at Jerpset, 25th of May 1808.
Wow. The Swedish rock?
The Swedish Rock.
Wow.
Literally the Swedish Rock.
Well, there it is. The Swedish rock. They lost.